Okay, we are 53b. 1, 2, 3 on the 10 lines from the top. They're quite a technical daf today, but it's fine. It goes fast. You like technicalities? Today's for you. Okay, so we had this idea that a person who has relations with their mother is either violated 2 commandments or 1 commandment, either for your mother and for your father's wife, or only 1. The rabbi said 2, and Rabbi Yehuda said 1. So now, ki also Rabbi Yitzchak, when Rabbi Yitzchak came, Tani kedetnan, Rabbi, he taught like our Mishnah taught, Rabbi Yehuda Omer no chayv el mishum ein bavad. Rabbi Yehuda says, if a guy has relations with his mother, you only have violated 1 prohibition, and that is the one that prohibits you from having relations with your mother. And the question is, why does he not count the other prohibition in the Torah that says you can't have relations with your father's wife? At the end of the day, if the mother and father are married, you should really be, you should have violated 2 negative commandments and not 1. So we're going to attempt, I think, three attempts to understand Rabbi Yehuda. So the time am I, what's the reason you're only chayiv 1 and not 2? So first attempted answer is Amar Abayda Amar Kra Imcha Hi, says your mother Mishum Imu Atam Chayiv Atam Chayiv Mishum Eishes Av. So the first attempt is, look, it just says you're only obligated Imcha Hi, only for your mother, and not for the wife of your father. Sounds like Imcha Hi, meaning just this lady, just this prohibition, and not any other prohibition. So we're going to have trouble with that. Why? Because Elameata, if that logic is true, Ervas Eish Savicha Lo Sigala. So when you go to the other verse now, that says you cannot uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. So Ervas Savicha Hi. So it says Ervas Eish Savicha Lo Sigala Ervas Savicha Hi Mishum Eishes Avatam Mechayvo V'etam Mechayv Mishum Imo. So then, if you're going to go with this logic, when it says he, it comes to exclude something else. So by imo, by your mother, it excludes your father's wife. So then be consistent. By your father's wife, it says he, come to exclude your mother. Okay, fine. So if it was just that, no problem. So then what would you have? You would have the lady who's your mother, but not your father's wife, over 1 prohibition. You violated 1 prohibition. The lady who's your father's wife and not your mother, you violated only 1 prohibition. What happens if Ela imo shehi eishes aviv? What happens if it's your mother and also she's married to your father? So the verse comes to exclude the other one. So what's going to happen? Kayahacha umimayla, and she's your mother. Imchahi is excluding your father's wife. Kayahacha umimayla, your father's wife is excluding the fact, is excluding the other one, that she's your mother. So now, hashta imo she'eno eishes aviv, I got your mother who's not your father's wife. That's good. Not good, but you violated the prohibition. Eishes aviv she'eno imo, your father's wife who's not your mother. Mechayev, you violated the prohibition. Only 1. It's coming to exclude. It's only for your father's wife, not your mother. What happens if it's imo shehi eishes aviv? Sounds like lo mechayev klal. If the lady happens to be your mother, who's also your father's wife, it sounds like you're not chayev at all. You're not obligated at all, because the Torah specified it has to be a lady who's only your mother, or it's only your father's wife. Each one comes to exclude the other one. So when you have a situation that it's both, so then sounds like on that the Torah never spoke about it. That you're not obligated. So that can't be. That can't be. And furthermore, Vesuler, according to the rabbis, Nami Haksiv Imchahi, according to the rabbis, it also says Imchahi, and they don't. According to them, what do they need Imcha for? Meaning, you need Imcha to exclude Eish Aviv, the father, the wife of your husband. But according to the rabbis who use Imchahi, how do they expand that verse? So at least on the second question, they're going to need imchahi to learn something out in a daf from now, according to Rav Shisha Breder of Edi. So at least that second question, what do they do with imchahi? We can answer. They're going to learn out different rules of skila, as we'll see soon, hopefully, from Rav Shisha Breder of Edi. So, okay. But according to Rabbi Yehuda Nami, Humi Bayil Elechad Rav Shisha Breder of Edi. But whatever the rabbis are going to use the word imcha, it's going to come to teach you, I think, different laws of skila, how you know different stoning from different people. Rabbi Yehuda is going to need the same imchahi to teach you that halacha also. So basically, this attempt has failed. Ella Amar of Acha Breder of Ika, how do you know that Rabbi Yehuda holds you're only obligated, you only violated one prohibition if a person has relations with their mother and not two prohibitions? Amar Kra Ervasa. Ervasa, literally nakedness. You're only obligated for uncovering one nakedness, so to speak, meaning only one person. Ervasa. Mishum erva achas atamachayvo v'yetamachayvo mishum shtei ervos. Maybe what it means is you're only obligated, according to Rabbi Yehuda, for one erva. Close little family, this one. So erva achas, you're only chayav for one, uncovering one nakedness and not uncovering two nakedness. So now, if that's true, so now this logic is suggesting that ervasa is coming to specifically tell you only one and not two. Okay, but let's see if that logic follows through. Elamayata, if that would be true, ervas kalascha, it says by a daughter-in-law you cannot uncover her nakedness. Eishes bin chahi, she's the wife of your son. Lo sigala ervasa. It says ervasa. So maybe say the same thing over there. Maybe by a daughter-in-law, it should only be one violation of a daughter-in-law, and not also that she is the wife of your son. Because it says she's your daughter-in-law, and she's the wife of your son. So, but what's wrong with that? Maybe you're right, but what's wrong with that? Our Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Habal kalaso chayiv aleha mishum kalaso. It says that you're chayiv, you're obligated for the fact that you had relations with your daughter-in-law. That's one. Umishum ish, and the fact that she's a married woman. That's two. Bein b'chayiv beno, whether it's in the life of your son. Bein la'achar misas beno, whether it's after the death of your son. And what happened? Rabbi Yehuda never argued on that. Velo polag Rabbi Yehuda. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, if whenever it says ervas, it means one and not two, why when it comes back to a daughter-in-law, didn't you jump up and say, no, you can only be chayiv one, not two? Yet he didn't say that. So what are you going to say? Because it's one lady, it's one body, literally. Since it's one person, even though it's two violations, that's why it used the singular ksiv ervasa. Not to teach you that it's only one prohibition, to teach you that it's one lady that you're uncovering her nakedness, but for that lady, you're going to be obligated too. So once you say that by a daughter-in-law, say the same thing by a mother, who happens to be your father's wife. Hachanami, kevan dechad gufa, it's one lady, it's one body. Afalgav, the tray Yisruin, even though it's two separate prohibitions on her, ksiv ervasa, that's why it says ervasa. Ervasa was not to teach you only one prohibition. It uses the singular to teach you that it's one person, but at the end of the day, the Torah writes two prohibitions for that one person. So, two failed attempts of why Rabbi Yehuda says that for your mother, who's also your father's wife, you're only obligated one and not two. Ella Amar Rava says, Kasav Rabbi Yehuda, very interesting, when it says Ervas Avicha, so we're going to be going back and forth the whole daf. Perek Yud Chesen Vayikra and Perek Chafen Vayikra. Acharemos and Kedoshim. One are all the warnings, if you do this, you'll get punished. And then ones are all the punishments. And you will be punished for. And you always need a warning and a punishment. So in the verse, it says, Ervas Avicha, and the nakedness of your father. So simply understood, it means if a person has relations with their father. Rabbi Yehuda says maybe Ervas Avicha actually refers to Zu Eishes Avicha. Ervas Avicha, the nakedness of your father, doesn't refer to your father. It actually refers to the wife of your father. Okay. Umay Sila Bigzei Reshava. and he learns this out through a Gzeira Shava. Umashma, and it sounds like Bein Eish Aviv Shehi Imo. This lady who's the Erva Savicha, who's the now means the wife of the father, whether she is the wife of your father, who's also your mother, Bein Eish Aviv She'ena Imo, whether she's the wife of your father who's not your mother, both of those you will be. It's prohibited to have relations with her. What about an imo she'eno eish aviv? What about a mother who's not the wife of your father? So you have a mother, but she's not the wife of your father. What do you do with her? If you have relations with that lady, who's your mother, but not the wife of your father, how do you know? Where's the prohibition for that? Minayin Talmud lo amar ervas imcha lo sigala imchahi mishum imo atamechayvo v'yatamechayvo mishum eish aviv. So a special pasuk tells you that you're only obligated for your mother, and you're not obligated for the fact that she is your father's wife. So once we opened up the other verse, ervas avicha, to include really the nakedness of your father's wife, that taught us that, even though she's not your mother. And then we had imo available to teach you that you're only obligated for the mother. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So only for the mother, and not for the fact that she is also your father's wife. Okay. Tanya kivase de Rava. Now we're going to bring up brights to support this opinion of Rava. So it says in Vayikra Chaf, it says ish asher yishkav etz eishes aviv, a man who sleeps with, who has relations with the wife of his father. So it says ish prat lekatan, has to be a man and not a child. Okay. Asher yishkav as eishes aviv, he has relations with the wife of his father. Sounds like mashma bein eishes aviv shehi imo, whether this wife of your father is your mother, bein eishes aviv shelo imo, whether the wife of your father who's not your mother. However, imo she'eno eish aviv minayin, how do you know that if she's your mother but not the wife of your father, that you're also obligated in that? Talmud lomar ervas aviv gila. It says ervas aviv gila, you've uncovered the nakedness of your father. However, it's open because it's not referring to that. So it's open to teach you mufna lahakish veladon mimenu gzeira shava. It's open to come and teach you a gzeira shava. Teach you gzeira shava, which obligates you only in your mother and not in the wife of your father. Yeah. Okay. So from there we see that the Bryce is like Rava, that only your mother and not your mother who's also your father's wife. Fine. So now, just to finish off the brisa, most yumsu beskila. So this person who has relations with his father's wife or his mother who's not his father's wife, his destiny is stoning. Most yumsu beskila. Says how do you know? Maybe it's any of the four capital punishments. How do you know it's skila? Nemar dimeihem bum. You're gonna take their blood. The nemar ba'ov v'yidoni, and by sorcery, these two kinds of sorceries of ov and yidoni, it says dimeihem bum. And over there, it's talking about skila because it says there explicitly, you will stone them be'evan yirgumu. So since it's there, it's referring to stoning. Afkan b'skila. Okay. Afkan b'skila. So to hear stoning. So up until now, we just proved that Rabbi Yehuda holds why he holds that a mother who's not a father's wife, you're only obligated one and not two. Fine. So now,
well, he killed him one time.
That's right. That's right. So okay. So now, the rule is that to be for Jews, not for non-Jews, for Jews, is that you have to have a warning in the Torah, and then a subsequent punishment. You have to have a pasuk telling you don't do something, and another pasuk telling you, and if you do it, you'll be killed. You have to have what's called a azhara, is a warning, and an onish. We'll see by non-Jews, it's going to be different. But onish shamanu. Okay, so we found the punishment. The punishment we just said, stoning. So azhara minayin, where's the warning? So now, the 18th chapter of Vayikra are all the warnings, and the 20th chapter of Vayikra are all the punishments. Seems very repetitive, but that's very, yeah. Onesh shamanu azhara minayin, Talmud lomar, ervas avicha lo sigala, you cannot uncover the nakedness of your father. Ervas avicha, who's that referring to? Zu eishes avicha. It's referring to actually the wife of your father, and you cannot uncover that their nakedness. Okay. Ata omer eish avicha eno ela ervas avicha mamish. It says ervas avicha, the nakedness of your father. Maybe it literally means the nakedness of your father and not your father's wife. So nemar kan ervas avicha lo sigala. It says here ervas avicha lo sigala. You should not uncover your father's nakedness. V'nemar laholan ervas aviv gila. And later it says ervas aviv gila, the nakedness of your father you've uncovered. This is our pasuk from earlier. Just like over there, malahalan beishas, there by the punishment. By the punishment, it's referring to not actually your father's nakedness, but it's actually his wife's nakedness. So to hear by the warning, it's always when it says ervas avicha, when it talks about your father's nakedness, it really means your father's wife's nakedness. Afkan ve'ishas akasam medaber. Okay. Umashma bein eish aviv she'imo bein eish aviv she'eno imo. But this is all true. You have a warning and a punishment to a lady who's your father's wife, who's not your mother. But imo she'eno eish aviv. What about a mother who's not the wife of your father? Minayin, how do you know that there's a warning for her? We only found a punishment. But how do you know there's a warning? Talmud lomar ervas imcha lo sigala. You should not uncover the nakedness of your mother. So that's the warning and the punishment for both a mother who's not your father's wife and a father's wife who's not your mother. Both of them have a warning and a punishment. Okay. Ainli ela be'azhara she'asa hakasav imo she'eno eshes aviv ki imo shehi eshes aviv. Says the Gemara, we only found that when it came to the warning that the Torah said by a mother who's not your father's wife, she's similar to a mother who is like your father's wife. However, that's all by the warning. We see that they're both similar in that way, that they're both prohibited. However, onesh minayin, where's the punishment for the mother who's not your father's wife? Nemar kan ervas avicha lo sigala v'nemar lahalan ervas aviv gila. So it says by the punishment. 1 second. Nemar kan ervas aviv lo sigala. It says over here, ervas aviv lo sigala. Ervas avicha lo sigala. That's by the warning. By the warning, it says ervas avicha lo sigala. V'nemar lahala and ervas aviv gila. And then by the punishment, it says you've uncovered your father's nakedness. So just like we're comparing the two, ma be'azhara, just like by the warnings in the 18th chapter, asa kasav imo she'eno eshes aviv ki imo she'esh aviv. The mother who's not your father's wife is the same as the mother who is the father's wife. They're both warned that you can't have relations with them. So too by the punishment, af be'onesh asa kasav imo she'eno eshes aviv ki imo she'esh aviv. So too by the punishment, they're going to have the same punishment. A mother who's not the father's wife is going to have the same punishment as the mother who is the father's wife. However, it says imchahi mishum imo atam l'chayvo v'i atam l'chayvo mishum eishes av. However, if she's your mother and not your father's wife, you're only going to be obligated for one and not two. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now, yeah. It sounds like if she's your mother, then you're only chayav for your mother and not the fact that she's your father's wife. The father's wife prohibition is only when she's not your mother. When she is also your mother, then you're only obligated for the fact that she's your mother and not for the fact that she's your father's wife. And that's really Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah. Okay. So now, more technicalities. According to the rabbis, v'Rabbanan, they don't learn ervas avicha to uncover the nakedness of your father as referring to the nakedness of your father's wife. They learn it literally. V'Rabbanan ervas avicha mamish. It's the prohibition is you cannot uncover your father's nakedness. So says the Gemara, but zachar nafka. But you already know that you can't have relations with a male from the verse that says you cannot have relations with a male. So it says, you're right. L'chayev alav shtayim. It's to obligate you too. A person has relations with their father. They're violated They're violated two prohibitions. One, that it's a male, and two, that it's their father. Ukid Rabbi Yehuda, and this is like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. A different Rabbi Yehuda. Dam Rabbi Yehuda. Nachri haba al aviv. So a non-Jew, we're going to say really, it's referring to a Jew. It's just using a cleaner language. That's what it's going to say. But a nachri haba al aviv is chayiv shtayim. A non-Jew who has relations with their father. Right now, we think it's referring to really a non-Jew, but we'll see it's not true. Is chayiv shtayim, is obligated to. Okay. Haba al achi aviv, if a guy has relations with their uncle, their father's brother, chayiv shtayim. Fine. So that is Rabbi Yehuda. Sounds like a non-Jew with his father, you're obligated to, and somebody with their uncle is also obligated to. So Amar Rava, Mistavra Milsa the Rabbi Yehuda be Yisroel. It's understandable that Rabbi Yehuda was talking about a Jew, Bishogeg, Ubikorban. It's referring to a Jew, and the reason why you have really two obligations is like Jules said, you can't get killed twice. But if you do it inadvertently means either you knew it was prohibited, but you didn't know that this person was your father. It's a little harder to understand. Right. Or more relatable is that you knew it was your father, but you didn't know that it was prohibited. Both of those are called a shogeg, an inadvertent punishment, an inadvertent violation. And if you do that, you bring a korban. Now, what happens if you ended up having relations with someone who's your father, who's also a male? You're obligated two korbans.
Sounding very important.
Yeah. You're obligated two korbanos. So you're right. If you get warned to not do it, and you say I'm gonna do it anyways, I don't care, blah 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 blah. You're right. Then you can't get killed twice. But if you're doing it inadvertently, so then you have to know how many korbanos, and now you want to do tshuva. You came to Daf Yomi and you found out you actually can't have relations with your father. Whoa. So now you're like, oh my gosh, I have to bring a korban. How many do I bring? That you're going to bring two korbanos. Yeah. Okay.
Here you don't die, you just bring.
If you inadvertently, right. Yeah.
But if you did it intentionally.
And with all those rules, then you get killed.
It's still
that penalty. That penalty. So okay. So really it's referring to a Jew who does this. The Hayidik Amar Nachri, the fact that he used the language of a non-Jew is just Lishna Al Yehu. We don't want to say about a Jew that he's having relations with his father or his uncle. Not clean language. And I'll prove it to you that it doesn't mean a non-Jew. The Sakadaitach Nachri Mamish. So what would happen if it be a non-Jew? Dino Mayinihu. Ktala. The halacha would be he gets killed. Betray Katli Katatale. Well, you can't kill him twice. And they don't have this idea of, it sounds like Bishogeg, they bring a korban. They don't have that idea. Once they're not allowed to do it, if they do it, sounds like then they get killed. It sounds like even Bishogeg, even inadvertently. So, yeah. Okay. Fine. So, Tanya, meaning by a non-Jew, you can't kill him twice. By a Jew, you could bring two korbanos. By a non-Jew, it's not gonna. They don't have idea of bringing the korban b'shogeg. Tanya nami hachi, another Brisa supports this. Ba'al aviv, one who has relations with their father, chayiv shtayim. Haba'al achi aviv, if you have relations with your uncle, you're also chayiv shtayim. Okay, that's one opinion. That's the first teaching of the Brisa. Or some say the following: Iked Amrei delok Rabbi Yehuda. Some say it's not like Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says earlier that you're obligated only one when it comes to your mother. So Iked Amrei afilu tem Rabbi Yehuda. Some say it's even going like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is the one that learned ervas avicha. Ervas avicha, the nakedness of your father, actually referred to the nakedness of your father's wife. So some say this can't be Rabbi Yehuda because that it's only going to be one obligation, the fact that he's a male, because the fact that he's your father was already taken up by something else. And some say it could even be Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, why? Umay sila bekal v'chomer me'achi aviv. So, Rabbi Yehuda, even though the verse of ervas avicha, the nakedness of your father, according to Rabbi Yehuda, means the nakedness of your father's wife. So if that's true, how in the world could Rabbi Yehuda hold that if a guy has relations with their father, they violated two prohibitions? What are the two prohibitions? There's only one, the fact that he's a male. The fact that he's your father is used up to teach you your father's wife. So says the Gemara, no. Umay sila bekal v'chomer. You can learn it out through a kal v'chomer. Me'achi aviv, from your father's brother. Uma achi aviv, just like your father's brother, the kurva de aviv, who he's a relative of your father, and yet you see, chayiv shtayim, you're obligated to. So your father himself, lo koshken, for sure you're going to be obligated in two. If you're not allowed to be with your father's brother, right? He's two steps removed from you. He's a relative of your father. For sure, to be with your father himself is for sure going to be prohibited. So what are these two opinions arguing about? Does Rabbi Yehuda hold your chayiv 2 or your chayiv 1? They actually argue with the opinions of Abai and Rava. What's that? Mar savar onshin min adin, umar savar ain onshin min adin. There's a machlokas Abai and Rava. Can you learn out punishments through logic? Meaning, probably the more understandable side is, whatever the Torah said you get punished for, that's it. You can't use logic and then kill somebody based off your logic. So, according to one opinion here, the fact that your father gets killed, if you have relations with your father, you violated two prohibitions and we're going to kill you for that, is learned out of logic from your father's brother. So, one understanding is you can't kill some ain onshim and adin. You can't punish somebody based off logical derivation. The other opinion holds that just like you can learn out halachas through logical derivation, even a punishment you can learn out from logical derivation. So it sounds like if you hold Rabbi Yehuda is chayiv 1 or 2, depends on if you can learn the violation of a father from a father's brother, which depends on this machlokas. Can you learn out punishments through logic or not? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, the Rabbanon, the rabbis hold, azhara le'eshes aviv minalahu. Where is the warning? Remember, we always need a warning and a punishment. But if you see there's a mission in sight, don't worry. So, the Rabbanon, azhara le'eshes aviv minalahu. Where do you know the warning, according to the Rabbanon, for your father's wife? According to Rabbi Yehuda, it was from the fact it says not to uncover your father's nakedness. According to the Rabbanon, how do you know that from? Nafkalahu me'ervas eishes avicha lo sigala. You cannot uncover the wife of your father's nakedness. So Rabbi Yehuda who learns it from somewhere else. What does he do with this verse? Hahumi bayile le'azhara le'eishes aviv le'achar misa. It's coming to warn you that it's prohibited to have relations with your father's wife, even after the father has died. You still cannot have relations with his wife. You would say that without the verse. I mean, we're not really related. I mean, it's my father's wife. Now he died, so I don't have any relations to her. But still, the verse comes and tells you that no, you're still connected. Yeah. The rabbis, how do they know that? V'rabbanon hahum sefer dekra nafka. From the end of the verse. What's the end of the verse? It says, Ervas eishes avicha lo segala, ervas avicha he. She still remains ervas avicha. Meaning ervas avicha. It sounds like the first part of the pasuk is you can't uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. Ervas avicha he. It sounds like even after the father would die, she's still considered. It would still be considered uncovering her nakedness. Yeah. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do with this verse? Seems extra to him. Rabbi Yehuda, homi bayile mishum eishes ava tamachayvo, v'iyah tamachayvo mishum eishes ish. he teaches you that it's coming to teach you if you have relations with the father's wife, you're only obligated for your father's wife and not for the fact that she happens to be a married woman. So only one violation and not two violations. Only for the fact that she is your stepmother, she's your father's wife, and not for the fact that she also happens to be married. There's always a general prohibition of a married lady can't have relations with somebody else. But he comes to exclude it over here. It's against our Mishnah. Habal eishes av chayv le'el mishum eishes av umishum eishes ish bein b'chay aviv bein la'achar mitzvah aviv v'lo palag Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda himself holds in our Mishnah that if a guy has relations with his father's wife, you have violated two prohibitions. One for the fact that it's your father's wife, and two for the fact that she's married. Whether it's in your father's lifetime, after your father's lifetime, doesn't matter. And yet here we're saying that according to Rabbi Yehuda, he excludes it. Amar Abaye, Paulik beBraisa. You're right. Abaye says the Rabbi Yehuda in the Braisa argues. Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah doesn't argue. It's two opinions what Rabbi Yehuda really held. Fine. Now, according to the Rabbanon, you had a warning that you can't have relations with a woman after your father died. You still cannot have relations with her. That's a warning. Where's the punishment? V'Rabbanan onesh to eish aviv la'achar misa minalahu. Where's the punishment? So now, Bishlam Rabbi Yehuda earlier had a Gzeira Shava, which compared the punishment, the warnings to the punishments. He learned earlier the father's wife. He learned out from the warnings to the punishments, and he compared those two parts of the Torah. So according to him, you're fine. Bishlam Rabbi Yehuda ma'isila b'Gzeira Shava. So once you have a Gzeira Shava connecting those two parshas, it'll connect it all the way. That just like anybody who's in the warnings will be in the punishments also. But Ella Rabbanan Minalahu, how do they know it from? Amrilach Hu Ervas Aviv Gila. It says Ervas Aviv Gila. Demapik La Rabbi Yehuda l'Gzeira Shava. That verse of Ervas Aviv Gila, which Rabbi Yehuda took out and used it for Gzeira Shava, Mafkile Inhu La'onesh Eish Aviv La'achar Misa. They're going to use that which Rabbi Yehuda uses as Gzeira Shava, comparing the two parshas, they're comparing the two sections of the Torah. They'll use that to teach you that a father's wife, after the death of the father, you will still be punished. Okay, fine. There's a chart somewhere in the article. Yeah, I see a chart. Okay, good. So, yeah, V'Rabbanan onesh le'imosh einu eish aviv minalahu. According to the rabbis, how do you know you get a punishment for a mother who's not your father's wife? Rav Shisha, Breder Rav Idi. This is what we quoted earlier. Rav Shisha, Breder Rav Idi. Amar Kra Imchahi. She's your mother, Imchahi. It says Ervas Avicha, Ervas Imcha lo sigala, and then it repeats itself. It says Imchahi lo sigala Ervasa. So what does it mean, Imchahi? Sounds like Imchahi asoa kasav le'imo she'eno eishes aviv ki imo shehi ki eishes aviv. Meaning Imchahi means she is your mother. In any case that she is your mother, then you're going to be punished for that. So even if she's your mother and not your father's wife, you'll still be punished for that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now the Mishnah said that a person has relations with their daughter-in-law is obligated. How many? Is obligated, has violated, let's see. Relation with the daughter-in-law, you violated. Oh, it says Habal Kalas in the Mishnah. You're chayiv, you're obligated for two things. She's your daughter-in-law, and for the fact that she's a married lady. So it says the Gemara, okay, but if you look in the Torah, when it comes to a daughter-in-law, it says, there that she's your daughter-in-law, and she's the wife of your son. Maybe that should be another prohibition. You should really get 3, not 2. Rabaye pasach hakasav b'kalaso. The verse opened up by referring to her as kalaso, which means your daughter-in-law, right? Akala, by the way, a chasen and akala. Akala means daughter-in-law. and a chassan means a son-in-law. Where the words come from, yeah. So the Torah opened up by referring to this lady as kalaso, as a daughter-in-law, and then it ended off the verse calling her Eishes Bino, the wife of your son. Why did it do that? Lo marlach, duhi kalaso, zui Eishes Bino. It's the same person. It's the same violation. It's not two violations. The same daughter-in-law in the Torah is the same. It's going to be the same prohibition as your son's wife, meaning it's just referring to the same person. It's not referring to another prohibition. So when it said at the end, your son's wife, it wasn't a new thing. It was just referring back to the beginning of the verse that called you your daughter-in-law. So you only violated 2 and not 3. Phew, off the hook, sort of. So yeah, okay, good job. We survived. So sort of, some of us. Okay, so says the Mishnah. More exciting things. Very Portlandy. Here we go.
Oh.
So haba al zachar, if you have relations with a male, or the ala behema. So we're gonna get pretty graphic and nitty gritty. So yeah, haba al zachar ba'ala behema. So a person has relations with another male or with an animal, or b'ha'isha hamevia es behema, a lady who brings the animal upon herself, b'skila. Those 3 we had earlier. They get skila. Now, we know that the animal also gets killed. Im adam chata behema machata. What did the animal do wrong? Why does it have to get killed? Right?
Didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's not his fault. Ella, 2 reasons. Ella lefisha bala adam tekala al yada lefikach amar akasaf tisakel. Since the downfall, the go word for tekala is his who?
But since the downfall came upon
Downfall.
the
Oh,
man
good.
through his-
Same word. Since the downfall came to the animal, therefore it should get killed, because it was the object of the downfall. Davar acher, another opinion says, Shalo tehe behema overes b'shuk, v'yomru zuhi sheniskal ploni al yada. It's really embarrassing for the guy that got killed. They're going to see Betty the cow walking around at someone's farm and say, yeah, Betty. That's why that guy got killed, because of Betty. So better to not embarrass the guy and kill the animal too.
That's a lot better.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but you see that even after a person dies, you even the guy that did an aveir that got him skila, but you want to protect his yeah. We saw earlier that death is a form of atonement. So okay. So now, zachar minolan. How do you know that a person violates has violated by having relations with another male? Minolan the Tanur Rabbanan. So ish prat lekatan. It says in the verse, the ish asher yishkav azakar has to be a man who has relations with another male. Ish prat lekatan, asher yishkav es zakar, who has relations with a male, bein gadol bein katan. So not the oppressor, but the one who's active has to be an adult. However, if he has relations with even a younger child, he still has violated the prohibition, meaning the object doesn't have to be an adult. He could be a kid, and yet still the person is going to be he's going to have violated this prohibition. Okay. Ben Gal Ben Katan. And then it says Mishkave Isha. The end of the verse says of Isha Sher Yishkav Zachar, a person who lies with another male. Then it says Mishkave Isha. Sounds like multiple lyings of a woman. So what does that mean? Mishkave Isha. Magid Lachakosov, the Torah is telling you, Sheshnei Mishkavos Be'isha. So it happens to parenthetically tell you over here another halacha, that by a woman, a person has violated the prohibition of if he has relations with a woman that he's not to have relations with, it doesn't matter whether it's either in the front or in the back. It doesn't matter.
Natural or unnatural. Natural
or unnatural, yeah. Both of those are prohibited in the Torah, whether it's natural or unnatural. That's both. Those are both included in any violation with a woman. Either way, it's going to be a violation. Amr Rabbi Shmuel, just parenthetically, this came to teach you something that really a male is obligated in having relations with another male, which we'll call unnatural. And because the Torah used the word mishkaveh isha, it came to teach you something else. It came to teach you, but then ended up learning from it something else. That a person who has relations with a woman in both ways is going to be violated the Isser. Okay. Amar Rabbi Shmuel. Yeah. Mos yumsu b'skila. So they get skila. You get stoned. You telling me it's stoning? It could be any one of the capital punishments. Nemar kandemamba, nemar obi yidoni. It says here the words you avenge, take his blood, and it says by the two kinds of sorcery. Obi yidoni. It says demeyam bum, and there it's referring to skila. So malahalan b'skila, afkan b'skila. So to here it's referring to skila. Now same thing. Onish shamanu asar minayin. That's very good. There's a prohibition. Where is the punishment? I need both. I need a prohibition and a punishment. So, in this case, Talmud Lomar, the es zachar loy tishkav, mishkave isha to'evahi. So, if you have relations with a male, it's considered a abomination, to'evahi. So, lamadnu azhara l'shochev. That's all the warning. Sorry, we had the punishment of skila. Where's the warning? So, this is the warning. Now, there's going to be two. The shochev is the active one, and then nishkav is the passive one. So if you have two males, right? Reuben is the active, Shimon is the passive. So azhara l'shochev, I have a warning for the shochev, the one who goes and lies with somebody else. Azhara l'nishkav, the one who's more passive. How do you know that he's also violated the prohibition? Talmud Lomar, another verse all the way in Devarim. All the way in Devarim. Lo siyeh kadesh mi b'nei Yisrael. That a person shouldn't be a Kadesh. So Kadesha there means a form of prostitution. So it says Kadesh. What's Kadesh? So now another verse in Malachim reveals to us what Kadesh in Devarim is. The Gam Kadesh Yeh Ba'aretz Asu Kechol HaTo'evas HaGoyim Asher Horish. For what for? Oh, Kadesh. Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah. So there in Malachim, it's talking about don't do like all the abominations of the non-Jews when you take over their lands. So there you have Kadesh and abomination. So to here it says Lo Yeh Kadesh. That's also referring to abomination. What's abomination? Having relations with another male. So that is all the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. That is Rabbi Shmuel. So we learned the warning for the one who's active and the warning of the one who's passive. Rabbi Akiva Omer Eino Tzarech. You don't need a V'lo Yeh Kadesh. You don't need that. Why? Harehu Omer ve'es Zachar lo tishkav mishkavei isha. It says you should not have relations with another male. Mishkavei isha, multiple relations. So what does that mean? So he says you can read it like this: Karibei lo sishachev. Lo sishkav is active. Lo sishachev is passive. So now this is going to be very important for it looks like tomorrow. According to Rabbi Shmuel, you have another prohibition of lo yeh kadesh. He pulls out another verse from Devarim for lo yeh kadesh. According to Rabbi Akiva, you don't need that. You have locally lo sishkav. This parsha teaches you both active and passive. Okay, I guess we will stop here. Tomorrow more about bestiality.